Hi, Lotuses. Welcome to another episode of the Lotus Letters podcast. I'm your host, Maddie, and we're on episode number 9. You're in for a real treat tonight. My guest, Maisha, is just full of spunk. That's what I'm going to call it. Spunk.
Okay. I like it.
Maisha and I, we're not that much older than each other. You're older than me, actually.
Really?
I think so. Just by a little bit.
Get out of here. I would have never known. You're so mature. And I'm such a kid.
And that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
So when we first met each other, it was like, we kind of hit it off. But then it was like, I don't know. Because our energies, our personalities are different.
Okay.
Two dope individuals in our own right. But for me, because I'm so serious all the time, and Maisha is not.
Would aggravate you, what me?
And it was so funny to me because I was like, how old is she?
Right. She a little immature.
But now I'm like, no, to navigate this life, everything can't be serious.
Oh, honey.
There has to be some sort of balance. And I can honestly say, for real, on a serious note, you're the sister friend that understands entrepreneurship and not being in your friend's face every day.
Yes, I agree.
And love each other from afar.
Yeah.
But show up when necessary. So that's how Maisha ended up here today.
Yeah.
We don't talk on the phone every day.
No.
We might hit each other inbox every now and then.
Yeah.
But when I asked her to come, she came.
Absolutely.
And she's a fellow Lotus. And she's going to read her letter tonight. But as usual, I want you all to always send your letters to the Lotus Letters Podcast email. And that Lotus Letters Podcast email address is lotusletterspodcast@gmail.com. I want to also, before I let you read your letter, I want to also hype up my sister.
Okay.
She has her own hair company. And I'm going to let her give you the information so that she can give it to you accurately. As always, it'll be at the bottom of the screen, but listen to Maisha now.
Sure. So I actually own Affluent Hair Co. It's a hair brand, luxury hair brand, but I also specialize in hair care. And so I provide luxury from root to end. I have a hair care line that specializes in growing your hair, especially when you have alopecia, you're dealing with stress or dealing with chemotherapy or the effects of your medication causing your hair to fall out. My products allow and promote hair growth. But then I also, while you're in that, the stage of regrowing your hair, I provide luxury quality hair extensions. I provide virgin hair, raw hair, anything you need, any texture you need, I can source it. Trust and believe. Just look at my pictures. I have just about every texture and source in my own collection, so I can do the same for you. My website is affluenthair.co, and you can also reach me on Instagram at affluenthair.co as well. If you mention Lotus Letters, you'll actually get a special discount. So be sure to do that. Thank you.
Don't get any better than that. I am super interested in hearing your letter and discussing your story.
Okay.
We're going to take our time tonight. And this is going to be a show like none other. It's going to be a relaxed environment show. So take this opportunity, go get your little refreshments. If you don't already have it, grab your blanket and pull up.
All right.
Go ahead.
Ready? Here it goes. Dear Lotus, I am so amazed by your strength. Do you know who you actually are? Do you recall your journey? What it took to get here? A lotus flower is created in the dirtiest conditions. Its seed is spread in some of the murkiest, most disgusting atmospheres. It has to fight through what seemingly is a danger to thrive. No one expects you to overcome the challenge, adversity, struggle, muck, more dirt thrown on you, and the inability to see your way out. But yet here we are. I say we because I'm a lotus too. We have grown, blossomed, even into the most beautiful display of perseverance, fortitude, and destiny. You wanted to die at the bottom of that murky water. No one would have been able to find you. You wanted to call it quits while you thought you were unseen, but God had a much bigger plan for you. It is your destiny and goal to tell your story. Recite your journey so that other lotus flowers will feel the vibration of your voice. This is how they will know the direction in which to grow. Your story was not just for you, but will serve as a guidepost to help others understand that they were actually not in it alone. I can't give you what to say, but I can share my story to give you the courage to tell yours. Let the vibration and echo of my words guide you to the light, to blossom and make beauty out of the ugliest of conditions.
Come on, Bishop.
Get out of here.
Oh my goodness.
That took a lot of courage to even just write that part. So, but we're here.
Thank you
Thank you so much.
for allowing yourself, even as a powerful woman, to be vulnerable
Yeah.
in the face of strangers.
Right.
Sometimes we can't even be vulnerable in the mirror to ourselves.
Exactly. I totally agree.
And I felt your letter.
Thank you.
And I don't mean to be redundant in nature or in word, because I've said that several times to several women that have sat in that seat. But it's just amazing how you can feel and see yourself in the journey of others. And we keep those things to ourselves.
Yeah.
But it's so freeing when we hear it. Not that we are reveling in what seem like hard times,
Mm-hmm.
but to know that there's someone else that survived it too.
Absolutely.
I don't feel remiss at all for having you on the show to discuss
Mhm.
the lotus and its journey.
Right.
When I first started the show, people asked me, are you sure you want to use a lotus? Because the lotus flower is associated with another religion.
Right.
And I said to them, God made everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what it represents for something else. I know what it represents for me. And people want to hold symbols captive, like one person owns it.
Right.
But this is what I represent. And it represents me. The lotus flower in itself goes through several stages. And the very first stage, when I researched it, was a seed stage. And in researching that, the seed stage was a stage that there's the potential of the beginning of growth. And I know that your first stage was in your childhood. And I really want to give you the space to unpack that in a capacity that you feel comfortable with on tonight.
Okay.
That seed stage for me with the potential of growth. Potential means it's stored up.
Yeah.
It hasn't necessarily had the energy exerted to evolve or to even go into the ground.
Right.
And if potential is stunted or something happens, even moving that seed
Yeah.
out of place, it could take a long time for it actually go to the next stage of taking root. Share with us about your childhood.
Sure. So just as a little girl, I was always this spunky young lady, always full of life, big brown eyes. I love to learn. I love learning different things. And my mom taught me how to read at a very young age. I was about 4 years old. And so I was the first granddaughter. So anything I did, if I just blew a bubble, it was just amazing because I'm the first granddaughter. Of course, everybody's going to celebrate. And so because I learned how to read at a very young age, my grandmother took so much pride in it, not just because her 4-year-old granddaughter could read, but my grandmother only had an 8th grade education. She left school to help her family work in the fields and different things like that, so to bring money into the home. And so to look at your lineage and see someone go farther than you take pride in that. And so every summer, whenever I would come to North Carolina, she would take me to different churches. She would take me to different communities, and she would talk about how smart I was. And so I was invited to several churches, different community events, and I would do this skit where I would hold a little baby and I would teach that baby how to read scripture, knowing the difference between chapter and verse. And it was so mesmerizing because I'm 4 years old and I'm reading like fluently reading, not like Mary Had a Little Lamb. I'm reading, child. So
I got you.
And so, of course, people gravitated to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a sort of celebrity, but also with good attention comes bad attention.
Mm.
And so I would get invited to different homes, like, come play with my daughter. I guess they wanted the intelligence to rub off. I don't know, but it was come play with my daughter, teach her how to read. I'm like, I'm 4. I want to come play with your daughter, but I don't know about all of the other stuff. And so there was a family that didn't live too far from my grandmother. And I loved playing with them because they had sisters like of all ages. Some were my age, some were older. So I got to, be the big sister and the little sister to some. And hanging out with them, I got to learn so many different games that, being from up north, maybe we didn't play those games. But there was one game in particular that they taught me that I'd never played before, and it was called House.
Mm.
They taught me how to play house, how the mommy and the daddy, they cook in the kitchen and they, hang out with the kids. But then also at night, it was mommy and daddy time.
That's why you can't let your children go to everybody else.
Right.
That part right there.
Right. And so seemingly I learned this game and I thought that was just a game. Like you play, house. I wasn't really comfortable with it, but it was a game. So I just thought everybody was doing it. So I'm down. I'm gang. Mm-hmm. Until they were actually grooming me for their dad to play house with me because they were playing house with their dad. And so here it is. It was just not some man coming into a room in the middle of the night trying to take advantage of me. It was the manipulation. I just remember this from even a young age. He would tell me that he wanted to be my friend. Then he would tell me that he was my boyfriend. And he would do little things. Like if I was in vacation Bible school, he would come to the vacation Bible school graduation. He would like buy us toys and candy and all kinds of stuff. But I just remember him paying extra attention to me, even at a young age. And I thought, oh my gosh, I got a boyfriend. It's a grown man. Okay. Going farther, I remember being in my 20s.
That's the next stage.
Yeah.
That's the
Sorry.
germination stage.
Yes.
But I'm trying to help the lotuses walk through it.
Right.
Because you're telling your story, but there are other lotuses that are identifying one.
Right.
And maybe people will sit and even take notice things that are possibly happening. Like somebody's in their growing stage where that
you can
seed,
absolutely,
and now they can identify it.
Right.
So I hear you say fast forward to the 20s.
Right.
This is the germination stage where those things from the seed are taking root in the mud. Talk to us.
Okay, but I want to talk. Actually, we could go back.
Okay,
that's I jumped ahead, but if we could even
go ahead.
You want to?
No, keep going.
If you even to go back. So that happened to me while I was in North Carolina. And it would have been grand it could have been amazing that when I left North Carolina, I left that behavior or I left that abuse. But when I got to New Jersey, it was time for me to start elementary school. And my parents worked in another city. And so I had to go stay at someone else's house after school. And the very person's house that I stayed at after school, she was playing house with her father too. And so it was like a weighing of when you think you just escaped it in one area, it'll come and meet you someplace else. And so
because the seed of perversion has already been planted.
Yes.
And the enemy knows itself.
Yes. And then on top of that, when you are young and naive, you're thinking it's just a game. So what do? You teach your friends the game. You teach your friends the game. You teach your sisters the game. You teach your cousins the game. And it's not like you're doing it to abuse them because you're 4 or 5 years old. You're doing it because it's a new game that you learned and you're assuming that it's supposed to be fun. And everybody's with it. because they don't know any better either. And that was my experience from the ages of 4 till probably maybe 8 or 9 years old. And it just blossomed. It just grew into other things.
Tell us about germination stage, where it's taking root.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you first see it beyond going back home to Jersey? Where did you see it show up? Was it in your teen years? Now that you are and you're mature.
Right. It was definitely, I don't think that I ever saw it. I always saw residue of it. Being, and I've never shared this story ever before.
And if you don't feel like...
No, I'm going to share it because this is freeing.
Hello, Lotuses.
This is definitely freeing. I just remember as a young girl going to great lengths to recreate that feeling. And so I would do little things. I would go into my father's closet. I would steal his pornography tapes. I would watch pornography. I mean, at 7, 8 years old, I would watch pornography, reenact those acts. 7, 8 years old. All the way up until my teenage years, I watched, I'm being serious. I watched so much pornography that it don't even, I just be like, girl,
you're the only one watching it.
Right. But I mean, even as a young kid, like,
about that.
to the point that, even when I became a teenager, I was like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need the same storyline, plumber or coming over to fix something. I'm good. I don't want to watch that no more. I'm good. Here come Larry. I don't want to watch that no more. Like, I don't even, it does nothing. It's numbing to me now. And especially when I came into the full knowledge of this addiction that I had, because at a young age, you don't think, it was embarrassing to have, but you didn't think it was an addiction. And so, yeah, up until I had unhealthy, obsessive relationships. Like, if I had a boyfriend, I had a boyfriend, child. Like, I was all in love with him and all of the things at a young age. I mean, like 14, 15 years old, up into my 20s. Even like in my mid-20s, 30s, if I was in a relationship, I was all in. Oh, he don't want to answer today? That's fine. I'm going to blow his phone up till he answer. Or, I'm just going to keep giving concessions. So let me just give y'all a disclaimer. That's not me no more. But back in the day, I would give so many concessions, like, I'm just give him another chance. I'm going to give him another chance because I was so in love with the fact of being somebody actually loving me or liking me for who I am. And they were playing games and I was giving them more chances, but it was a part of my unhealthy viewpoint, my unhealthy desires. And so now that we've come past that mountain, I'm grateful. I still have my moments, but I'm grateful it's not as strong as it used to be.
Totally understand. You've walked through a lot of the stages, right? And I wanted everyone to be able to hear the information that you're sharing.
Right.
Because it's impactful. It's powerful. It resonates not only with me, it's resonating with many of them.
Yeah.
And it's therapeutic in nature for you.
Yes.
Because sometimes some things we intentionally suppress.
Right.
But every time we're able to really speak it,
that's the freedom of it. And especially in our community and Black communities, not African American, Black communities, we have this unspoken rule of what happens in my house stays in my house. Or if you feel embarrassed by it, you're not supposed to tell anybody about it. But you don't realize that you can actually get more help at the inception of a thing if you go ahead and disclose what you have going on versus sitting with it. Because when you sit with something and it's nagging at you, it'll cause it to fester and you can have ulcers, you can have dissociative disabilities like mental health issues, all kinds of things. You can go crazy. You can have a stroke. You can have all types of issues because you're suppressing.
You're internalizing it.
Yes. And you're trying to deal with it on your own instead of expressing how you're feeling so that the remedy can be met.
It's popping up. It's showing up. It's manifesting.
Oh, absolutely.
In other ways. So we've talked about the seed stage, the germination stage. Let's talk about the emergent stage.
Okay.
The emergent stage is when the lotus starts blossoming. Well, it doesn't blossom yet. It starts peeking through the mud, and it can see a little bit of light. And that mud in our life is those areas of abuse, those areas of trauma.
Yeah.
All the manure for other flowers.
Right.
It was in the mud for us.
Right.
But there is a time in life where we're still in the mud.
Yeah.
We're still in those things, but the light bulb actually does go on.
Right.
And we're like, I really don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be in this anymore. Not quite sold on how to get out or when we're going to get out.
Right.
But we know we got to come up out of it.
Yeah, something's not right.
Something's not right.
Right.
We are definitely called to more than this.
Absolutely.
How do we end up here?
Exactly. How do we get out of here?
And how do we get out of here?
Yeah.
When did you see the light?
It started in my early to mid 20s. I've always been, I told you I was intelligent, always been intelligent. And so I worked for a time, I was a career employee with the Postal Service. And this was like 99, 2000. I was like 21 years old. I just told my age. But anyway, I look good for my age, though, man.
And you look great, girl. You look great.
But I was 21 years old, and I was making like $50,000 in the early 2000s.
Oh, you know how to get that coin.
Oh, honey, I can get the money now. Don't play with me. But the problem was because of my traumas, because of my behaviors, I would blow money. I would blow my check every 2 weeks. I would literally get paid on a Friday and I would be broke by Sunday because I was eating money. I was shopping away. Oh, you could not tell me I was not going to be at the mall or someplace. I drove a sports car. I had a little Mazda MX-6 with the sunroof. You couldn't, and I was from New Jersey, so you could not tell me I wasn't doing it, right? I was traveling, I was hanging out with my girlfriends, doing all the things, but I had nothing to show for it except for what was on my back and what I was driving around. I was living with my mom, barely paying bills, barely helping her pay bills. And then I decided I was grown and I wanted to move out. And so when I moved out, it's kind of hard to move out when you don't have a healthy relationship with money. It's very hard to move out when you don't have a healthy relationship with money. And so I got evicted. And then that cycle happened. I got another apartment. I got evicted. Moved back in with my mom for a minute, or moved back in with my sister. I was the couch cousin. My cousins will probably hate to answer the phone because they were like, she either going to call us and say, do you want to go shopping? Or can I come stay on your couch? Like it was either one of the two, right? And so I was that cousin. And I just kept saying, something's not right. I need something better for my life. I knew I was very intelligent. I worked in a very high-paying field. After went into corporate America after I left the Postal Service, making a lot of money, still blowing it, still emotionally spending and doing whatever I wanted to do frivolously with my money, not investing, not putting anything aside. And I knew something had to give. And so sometimes you have to, excuse my language, sometimes you have to cuss yourself out.
Tell me about it.
You have to go off and say, okay, wait a minute. Enough is enough.
Other people done tried to tell you. You don't want to hear it from them. So now you got to tell yourself.
They're haters. They're not haters. They want their couch back. Okay? They want the couch back. Personally. So that's basically what happened. I had to write myself a letter. And then I started watching.
Oh, you've been writing letters.
Oh, honey. I write my letters and then I sign them, love yourself.
Wow.
Because if you don't love yourself, nobody else is going to love you or respect you. They're going to come at you the same way that you present yourself. And I had to learn that the hard way. It hurt. It hurt a lot. It hurt deep. But I realized I have to set the precedent. I have to set the standard. Because if I don't, this behavior will continue. And then what's going to happen? I'm going to explode. But they're only doing what I allowed them to do.
Gotcha.
So I had to write myself that letter. I had to write out a game plan. I started listening to.
So that's the next stage.
Okay.
You walking it.
Girl.
You walking it. You walking it. The next stage is the preparation And reflection stage, also the bud, called the bud formation stage.
Oh, wow.
It's starting to bud.
Yeah.
You walking it out.
Yeah.
Many of you are walking it out, but you don't understand that you're there yet. You're almost there. Don't give up.
Yeah, you can't.
And pause. This is a pause moment, not for the camera, but just for our lotuses in general. Many of us are trying to recover.
Yeah.
Recover from COVID. Recover from the market. Recover from heartbreak. Trying to get their health back in alignment. Recover after death of loved one after loved one. Yeah. Recover from job transition, recovering from relationships, whatever the recovery is. Mm-hmm. So this is a stage where it's an opportunity to really prepare and reflect on the decisions that you've made, the choices that you've made, and some of the choices that were made for you.
Yeah.
But this is the budding stage.
Okay.
Talk to us, Mom.
But now, Maddie, while we're in this pause, I do have to add, people are recovering, but some people also have survivor's guilt. They have survivor's remorse because, let's say...
Survivor's remorse or guilt?
Say both.
Both.
I think it's in layers, because what happens is, say you and I are out. God forbid, we're out on the town. You're drinking, I'm drinking. You're getting high, I'm getting high. Right? You overdose. I don't.
Mm-hmm. So two things are true at the same time.
Oh, yeah. It could be, the symptoms could be true. I mean, the symptoms can be valid, but the truth remains. And so what happens is, because you're mourning or you're grieving the loss of a friend, and you're also acknowledging that those same behaviors are what you took part in, you're waiting for your opportunity to overdose or die. But that was actually your opportunity to live. So
that's why you're here, sis.
So you got to live.
Tell us about your bud formation.
Okay, so for my bud formation, I started listening to podcasts. I started listening to YouTube videos. I delved heavily into Cindy Trim because what I noticed is, if someone said something about me, I would repeat it, and I would be so sad about what I heard that they said about me. So I just so happened to run across Dr. Cindy Trim, and she taught this series about who are you? Mm-hmm. And she made so many different poignant phrases. But one thing that she said to me that just stuck with me, she said, your words are currency. Mm-hmm. What you say is what you make. Right? Number 2, if you don't want to see it tomorrow, don't say it today. Because it's a seed. Right? And then the third thing she said is, if you hear something negatively about you, don't complain about it and don't repeat it. You say and write the opposite and create an affirmation based on what that said. Okay?
I found it so amazing that you went to Dr. Cindy Trim, and I did too.
Wow.
From her prayers.
Yeah. Oh, that atomic prayer? Shit.
I used to play it on my home.
Yeah.
I
still do.
I read the book she wrote in regards to, like, when she was a child, she would read books in the dark.
Yes.
And her motivation for that, her motivation to be better and bigger than the place she was amazing.
It was amazing. She willed herself into the position that she was in now. She came from a place where she wasn't even expected. She was a surprise to her parents. She was such a surprise to her father. He left. And so her mom said, I didn't ask for you. I wasn't expecting you, but I'm going to make sure I take care of you. And that's what she did. And she knew she no longer wanted to be the daughter of the family that lived at the bottom of the street that got all the hand-me-downs and had to put paper in their shoes so that they could make it through the winter. All of those things. She didn't want to be that person anymore. And so she continued to speak to herself. She created innovative ways to make it out of the situation that she was in. And I believe it was through prayer and just seeking God and allowing him to direct her to where she has to go.
Absolutely. But for me, I believe a lot of it, hear what I'm saying, Lotus, is don't crucify me, church. She changed her narrative because she became more self-aware.
Okay.
She didn't just sit in the mud.
Right.
She played the hand that was dealt to her.
Right.
We call on God for a lot of things.
Right.
But he's already equipped us.
See, the problem, okay, church, the problem that we have in church is that we know how to shout and clap on that 2 and that 4. We know how to lift up our hands and receive it. I believe and I receive it, but then we have no action.
Yeah. And
there has to be a change. You have to do more than pay your tithe and pay your offering and just sit in the pew. You have to move. Faith without works. You got to get to work. You have to write the vision and make it plain so that when people read it, they can run with it. But you need to read it too and run. Like, you need to, you know what I mean?
that's what we were talking about in the show, and you all hopefully have seen it. It was episode number 8. I got it right this time. We were discussing deliverance and mental health.
Right.
Like, they're interconnected.
Yes, they are.
We don't follow instruction. We got to write instructions.
Yeah.
We can have a vision, but how do you get to that vision?
Right. I agree.
And we have to give ourselves grace
Yeah.
to even break the steps up sometimes. I'm a big picture person. I say it all the time. So I know what my end result looks like,
Yeah.
but it's getting there that I need to have patience for
Yeah. That's the thing.
and give myself grace to mess up along the way.
To fall. Exactly. That's just like trying to get a 2-month-old to run.
Not happening.
They don't have the strength. Their spine is not even stable enough.
Also, these last 2 stages, the blooming stage and the seed dispensing stage. Even when you get to the stage of blooming
Yeah.
and more seeds falling back into the mud to sprout up, and maybe other opportunities in your life or other people that you've poured into or you've been an example to, even in the blooming stage for the lotuses, although we're pretty, some of the curveballs that are still thrown,
Oof.
they're real.
Yeah. You wait till we get off camera. We're going to talk about the curveball. It's the after party. You won't be a part of that conversation. Like, you can
Just imagine.
honey.
Just imagine. We still get curveballs.
Yeah.
It's not all peaches and cream.
It's not.
But the things that we've learned along the way,
Yeah.
we're able to now hopefully look through that lens a little differently
Yes.
and see things differently, and don't keep falling for the same things that we used to fall for.
I totally agree. And what you end up doing, I know from me, I had to learn how to regulate my emotions, because I used to get so upset that I would literally have to go take a nap to just calm down. I really, the same way that I'm jovial and excited, just imagine my anger being on the same level. That's why I laugh. I'm trying to tell y'all, I'm saving your life. That's why I laugh, because at the same intensity that I want to just be happy, make me mad. I'll show you a thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the principle of something that really kind of throw you off course. But you definitely have to know, it's a testing. It's to see how much of that old residue you still have in yourself.
Yes, it is.
How much of that old cycle you still carry. And
So
to
it's
see if you
all
wanna-
purge.
and to see if you want to revert back to old behaviors, you know?
Have you really grown for real?
Right.
Have you really developed for real?
Right.
Are we still falling for the same tricks? The tricks that we fell for at 25, are we doing that at 40? How many times are we really going to keep stopping and going
Yes. Or having to
over the
restart.
same stuff?
Right.
Now, we're not saying that there aren't times when you might fall off, and because with new levels
Yeah,
come new trials.
absolutely.
That's just truth.
Yeah.
But what we're saying is making the decisions at 21
Right.
and 41
It's totally different.
different.
Totally different. Like at 40, I'm 46 now. And I'm not going to blow my check at 46 to go to Italy, even though I would love to. But I got a mortgage. I need some place to live. Like, I have to really take those things into perspective and into account now.
Priorities different. Priorities are different.
Way different.
Priorities are different.
Way different.
give me 3 things that you would leave the lotuses with tonight. 3 things for their blooming season, for their blooming.
Yeah. So the first thing that I would say is breathe. Breathe. If you take a breath before you respond, if you take a breath before you react, it'll leave a whole world of difference than you just responding at the initial cause of impact. Breathe. That's number 1. Number 2, keep going. You're in the middle and it's dark. It's just like a birth canal. If a baby got stuck in the middle, if the baby got stuck in the middle of the birth canal, it could rule detrimental for the mother and the baby. But you got to keep going. You got to keep pushing. It's going to hurt. Some old emotions, some old memories that you've pressed down are going to present themselves, but you have to just keep going. Because if you don't keep going, you're not going to make it out of that situation to be victorious. You have to keep going. That's number 2. Number 3, you are almost there.
Wow.
It might feel like you're still at the starting line. It may feel like you have not made much progress, but I guarantee you, it's just like being in a slingshot. You're standing there, you're waiting for the goal, but it's not until they pull that rubber band back and snap you. You are being catapulted so much farther than where you were initially. You're thinking, I'm moving slow, nothing is going my way. But I guarantee you, if you breathe, if you keep going, you'll realize when you're flying in the air and you're being 5 times, 10 times, 100 times projected to beyond where you even wanted to go, you'll realize, oh my goodness, forget being almost there. I'm past where I really wanted to be. So just keep going and breathe. Know that you're going to make it. I promise you, you're going to make it.
Lotuses, in church etiquette, we don't preach behind the preacher. She gave you the 3 driving points, all right? She gave you something to go home with. We don't have the praise break tonight for you, but we are leaving you with 3 nuggets, a lot of nuggets, but 3 for your blooming season. Don't lose hope. As always, thank you for watching the Lotus Letters podcast. Send us your letters to the Lotus Letters podcast at gmail.com. Let me tell you that one more time. Lotus Letters podcast at gmail.com. So without further ado, we want to give you this nifty bag for coming. This merch is definitely available on our Amazon website, and you will be able to purchase a bag, a pillow, or T-shirts.
So like being a wife.
Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for watching. Please like, please share, please comment. This is episode number 9. Good night.
Good night. Love you. Love yourself.